Now that Fabula January's over, which you can see on the links there, what am I gonna do? Ow. Who's the man? Who's the man?
Who's the Man is really difficult to approach from a fair perspective without knowing some of the background first. It would be really easy for me to pan it, and I will, because it sucks so hard I'm surprised the VHS I own of it hasn't collapsed in on itself. But in order to really understand why it sucks, you have to know about Yo MTV Raps. When MTV was first put on the air in 1981, it was all guitar solos and spandex, which neatly packaged the whitest dicks in showbiz. Around the same time, hip-hop was gaining traction but getting very little play on the radio and less on television. Ted Demme, one of the many white guys working at MTV, and producer of the black and white rants of Dennis Leary, was really into hip-hop and wanted it to have some presence on MTV. The channel gave him a small budget, and he started producing a weekly show starring Fab Five Freddy.
Yo, welcome to the premiere of Yo MTV Raps!
The first episode of Yo MTV Raps alone pulled in the most ratings ever on MTV, only outdone later on by Live Aid and the MTV Video Music Awards. Eventually, the show expanded, prompting Demme to find new hosts, as Fab Five Freddy was uninterested in being on the show all week, just the weekends.
I'm tired! All that dancing, I'm not with it!
Enter Ed Lover, an old friend of Demme's, and Dr. Dre, the one you actually did forget about. The two were given carte blanche to make fun of people who use the term carte blanche.
Hey, Crumpet! Hey, Crumpet! How'd you like this cookie up your little crumpet?
And to be generally goofy. Their ad-lib style and fun-loving nature became a trademark of the show. Yo MTV Raps itself became the main outlet for people all over the globe to get their hip-hop music, as well as information about the genre and artists in a pre-internet connected world. It's widely considered one of the, if not the most influential shows in that regard. That being said, at least Who's the Man is faithful to the format of Yo MTV Raps in the sense that it is jam-packed with appearances by hip-hop stars, and this is sadly by far the most, if not the only, redeeming quality of this film. The plot itself is fairly simple but poorly executed. Dr. Dre and Ed Lover play themselves as bumbling barbers in a popular barbershop in Harlem owned by Nick. Nick gets sick of what we're supposed to see as the duo's goofy antics and forces them to apply to be police officers.
I'm just reading in the paper today, the police force is hiring brothers.
The police? Nick, Ain't trying to be the man. Dre, you trying to be the man?
I am not trying to be the man.
See that, Nick? Dre don't want to be the man. I don't want to be the man. Nobody here wants to be the man, Nick.
Oh, shit! What the hell?
Meanwhile, a greedy real estate developer tries to persuade Nick to sell the shop, and Nick refuses.
I got my stake here, Lionel. Don't you understand that?
Sell it, man. It's just a barbershop.
And then gets killed, and the barbershop gets exploded, which sends Ed Lover and Dr. Dre on a mission to find Nick's killer, obviously the real estate guy's dirt. Normally I would run through this film scene for scene, but in the interest of saving your sanity for Nyarlathotep,
Tap the crawling chaos guy with those force. I will do this and I'll stuff that
movie's bad. Number 1, Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. They cannot act. In fact, Dre barely gets any lines in the entire film, diminishing their tete-a-tete to a tiny amount. Considering Judd Apatow hadn't been invented yet, I can see why MTV might have hesitated to give the two ad-lib breathing room, but that's kind of their whole charm on Yo MTV Raps. They don't even dress up and pretend to be other characters, one of many quirks abandoned from Yo in this film, including and most egregiously Ed Lover's Ed Lover dance.
There it goes. Go, 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 Ed. Go, Ed. Go, Ed. Go, Ed.
The closest the writers of this movie get Lover and Dre to comedy is when they do a super outdated and vaguely racist Laurel and Hardy bit with a forensics guy at the station.
Test on what?
Test on gun.
Gun kill Nick?
Do a test. On the gun.
When you want?
Today is good.
Today.
On the gun.
On the gun.
Which wasn't very vague about being racist, actually.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
What a pain in the ass.
Number 2, the supporting cast. Did you know this film was Terrence Howard's film debut? Me neither. There are so many people to recognize in this film you could play bingo with your collection of licensed Yo MTV Rap trading cards. In addition to all the rappers, Colin Quinn plays the neighborhood bookie, and Dennis Leary plays the sergeant of the police squad who I swear to God has been paid in coke. His bits are beating a podium with a nightstick and denying Dr. Dre a donut.
May I have a donut?
You can have as many donuts as you want.
Thanks, Sarge.
Don't even think about it.
But he tackles these repeated and unchanged gags with such aplomb that he's definitely on coke.
Dr. Dre. You know, my brother went to school for 8 years, took out $350,000 in federally financed student loans, and he's paying back at an interest rate of 18%, so he should be done paying that about, I don't know, when he's about 75 years old, just so he can call himself Dr. Cooper!
You got a bit there still. Hold on, let me get that. You're good. Action!
Feel like it. I just want to be a king, and now I decided I'm going to call myself king, so I'm a king. I'm a king. King Cooper. That's me.
King Cooper, we want to be assigned to the Nick Crawford murder.
Number 3, the bad guys and their schemes. Honestly, if you told me that the plot was a real estate developer trying to push folks out of Harlem, I would not be surprised. If you then told me it was a cover for digging for oil under Harlem, I would tell you that I already knew that about 10 minutes into the film because they tell you that about 10 minutes into the film.
Oh, okay. We've been drilling down here for about 6 months. And don't look like they're building any condominiums over here.
If the twist wasn't so obvious, it would be interesting, but it's shoved in your face so hard you can smell Texas.
Yeah, but what's that drilling you doing uptown?
My engineers are collecting geological samples. It's what one does when one builds.
How come you ain't done no building in Harlem, man? All that drilling, no building. Don't make sense to me.
The baddies barely even try, at one point trying to frame Night Train played by Ice-T, which works for a couple minutes. Until he's found dead, of course. Which brings me to number 4. The tone. If you propped a freshly dead body up with a copy of this movie in its hand, when it started to tip over, the gases escaping its decaying organs through its mouth would sound like a rim shot. The film wants to be funny, but is at direct odds with the huge pile of crime and murder in the film. Dr. Dre gives an aw shucks look when robbed at gunpoint, a mafioso under police surveillance is murdered, and Colin Quinn just kinda shrugs it off.
Hey, I'm sorry about Tony Clams.
And when the two leads find Ice-T in his apartment dead, they laugh as if Ice-T was wearing a funny wig instead of blood all over his goddamn face.
Damn, Dre. Somebody talked to that motherfucker already. Could have cut himself shaving, huh? Shit, he dead as a motherfucker, man.
Even one of the most serious moments in the film when Lionel, the main baddie's henchman, reveals that he was the one who killed Nick.
I tried to save Nick. I said, Nick, sell the property. But he wouldn't listen. What was I supposed to do?
Has the wind taken out of its sails when you remember the scene earlier where Dre and Lover had their buddies put switches and a speaker on a squad car? In the end, if the film had a more loose structure and wasn't so intent on making the main characters terrible police officers, instead focusing on the range of comedy that Dr. Dre and Ed Lover were capable of in a more relaxed way, this movie could have been a hit. Instead, this movie is just one big muddle of serious sentiment about living in poor neighborhoods.
Just look outside the window. You got pipe heads and crack dealers right out there.
Comedy that seems like it belongs in the hands of the Marx Brothers, and good lord a shit ton of cameos.
What you think? Rappers!
Rappers? But you can't even dress yourself.
Let's just remember how important Dr. Dre and Ed Lover were culturally and television-wise, rather than cinematically.
Yo MTV Raps was, is, and will always be hip-hop.
Yo, MTV Raps today.
So that's what I thought about Who's the Man. Check out some other videos here. Also, we have another Peanut Butter Disaster contributor, part of the Little Spreads program, known as Trick Track. You can check out his underrated RPGs video right here if you would like to click on that. And thanks for watching. Subscribe. Check out peanutbutterdisaster.com. And until next time, I'm Jake Salvage. This is VHXS. I'm gonna take a nap now. It's nap time. I nap with my eyes open.
Peanut Butter Disaster.
Wow.